In the heart of the Andromeda Galaxy, inside a massive metal sphere floating in deep space, leaders from hundreds of alien worlds gathered. It was the day of the War Games, a galactic tradition where the strongest species showed their power. In the middle of the great arena, a blue-skinned alien general named Zaralik laughed loudly. His sharp teeth glowed under the bright lights. "Humans?" he shouted. "You brought humans to fight in the War Games?" The crowd of aliens joined in his laughter. On giant screens, they watched videos of humans crying, bleeding, and limping. Compared to other species with metal-like skin, natural armor, or laser vision, humans looked soft, small, and weak. The announcer's voice echoed across the stadium. "For the first time, Earth has joined the War Games. Let the test begin." Inside the battlefield, a massive dome filled with rocky terrain and smoke, a team of human soldiers appeared. They looked around confused. Their weapons shook in their hands. Some were breathing fast, some whispered prayers. None had ever seen a real alien before. High above, alien elites sipped glowing drinks and watched. "Look at their eyes," one insect-like creature said. "They're full of fear. This won't take long." Suddenly, the enemy appeared. A squad of Dravik warriors, 10 feet tall, covered in armor that grew from their own bones. Their arms were like tree trunks, and their eyes burned yellow. The battle began. In less than 5 minutes, 4 human soldiers were down. One had his chest crushed. Another had her leg torn off. Blood covered the dirt. Screams filled the air. "Pathetic," Zaralik said, smiling. "They break so easily." But then, something strange happened. A human named Private Kane, who had taken a metal spike to the stomach, suddenly twitched. His body, broken and still, moved. First his fingers, then his arms. The camera zoomed in. Gasps spread through the crowd. His skin was closing. Muscles were rebuilding. His eyes opened, and he smiled. "What is this?" Zaralik shouted. Kane stood up slowly. His face was pale, but his eyes burned with something new. Not fear, not pain. Something else. Rage. He picked up his weapon and charged. The Dravik warrior laughed and swung his heavy blade. But Kane ducked. He moved faster than before. His stab was clean, deep, and deadly. The Dravik fell, dead. The arena went silent. More humans stood back up, wounded, bleeding, limping, but alive. "They're not healing," one alien medic whispered. "They're adapting." Zaralik slammed his fist on the table. "Impossible. No species can recover like that." But the evidence was clear. Each human who had fallen was now rising, stronger than before. Their eyes glowed faintly. Their movements became sharper. One even blocked a laser shot with his bare arm. Skin burned, but healed within seconds. Earth's ambassador, a calm woman named Dr. Alina Rowe, stood at the edge of the council chamber. She spoke into the mic for all to hear. "We warned you. Humanity doesn't break. We evolve." The aliens were confused, worried. Some began looking through medical scans and DNA reports. Something was wrong, very wrong. "What is this?" Zaralik asked. "Magic?" Dr. Rowe smiled politely. "No, just science and survival." A flashback played on the screen. Earth, 10 years ago. A deadly virus had wiped out millions. The world was in chaos. But humans survived by creating a new kind of gene therapy. Soldiers were injected with tiny machines that repaired cells and boosted regeneration. Over time, their bodies learned how to heal, faster and faster. But it wasn't just healing. Their minds adapted too. Each time a human fell in battle, their brain remembered what killed them. And next time, they didn't make the same mistake. Back in the arena, Private Kane stood over the dead Dravik warrior. His face was serious, calm, cold. A drone floated toward him, scanning his body. A voice said, "You were pronounced dead. How do you feel?" Kane looked straight into the camera and said, "Better." Then he turned and ran into battle again. The battlefield was filled with smoke and silence. Alien cameras floated above. The dead, capturing every broken body and every pool of blood. The war games had barely started, and already half the human squad was down. Alien spectators leaned back in their chairs, sipping strange-colored drinks and smiling with sharp teeth. In the command tower, General Zaralek leaned forward, eyes locked on the large central screen. The human, Private Kane, was standing again after being killed. Not injured, killed. The medical scans confirmed it. His heart had stopped for almost a minute. His spine had snapped. He should have been a corpse. But now he was walking like nothing happened. The camera zoomed in. Kane's armor was torn, his skin marked with burns and cuts. But his breathing was calm. His eyes were locked on the nearest Dravik warrior, who stood tall and ready to crush more humans. But Kane didn't wait this time. He ran, faster than before, smoother than before. The audience gasped as he dodged the alien's attack, spun around him, and stabbed a blade deep into its back. The Dravik roared in pain, turned, swung a massive arm and missed. Kane didn't. Just kill. He hunted. In another corner of the arena, a second human soldier stirred. Her leg had been severed minutes ago. She had bled out. Monitors had marked her as dead, but now her fingers twitched. A moment later, her leg began to grow back, slowly, painfully, but clearly. Flesh wrapped around bone like vines climbing a tree. Her eyes fluttered open, and she gasped as life returned to her body. The alien crowd was no longer laughing. Silence replaced amusement. Fear began to grow, not just in the minds of soldiers, but in the hearts of those watching from far-off systems. "What is this?" whispered a lizard-like alien noble. "This isn't medicine. This is horror." Inside the council chamber, the alien medical team had already begun scanning the human biology files sent earlier. Their best doctors stared in disbelief. "This regeneration speed isn't natural," one said. "Even the most advanced healing species can't survive organ loss like that." "And it's not just healing," another added. "Their brain patterns are shifting, adapting in real time." "You mean learning?" Zaralek growled. "No," the doctor said. "I mean evolving." Far below, in the war zone, the surviving Dravik warriors formed a circle, unsure of what they were facing. Kane moved like a ghost between shadows, striking fast and disappearing again. He didn't speak. He didn't hesitate. He fought like he had lived this battle 100 times before. And maybe he had, in his mind. Back at the human observation deck, Earth's ambassador, Dr. Alina Rowe, watched the chaos unfold. She didn't smile. She didn't celebrate. This wasn't supposed to happen yet, she whispered to herself. They're evolving too quickly. One of her aides turned to her, confused. "Should we stop them? Call for surrender?" Rowe shook her head. "It's too late. They've seen the truth now. Let it unfold." Meanwhile, in the alien war lab, engineers pulled up old footage from Earth secret clips leaked from military training camps. The scenes were terrifying. A human soldier standing in a burning building, pulling shrapnel from his own chest. Another biting down on his tongue to push through brain surgery while awake. Another jumping from a helicopter without a parachute, regenerating shattered bones before hitting the ground. The program was called Project Echo. Originally created to fight Earth's deadliest virus, it had turned into something darker. Human scientists discovered that pain made the brain learn faster. Death made the body adjust. Trauma made evolution accelerate. So they stopped running from it. They embraced it. Each soldier in Project Echo had died at least once, and every time they came back stronger. In the arena, Kane found himself face to face with the last Dravik warrior. This one was smarter than the rest. He didn't charge blindly. He studied Kane, circled him, waited for the right moment. They clashed, sparks flew, blades met skin. Bones cracked. Kane was struck hard in the side, ribs crushed instantly. But he didn't scream. He kept fighting. His left arm hung loose, broken. So he dropped his weapon and used the other one. A punch, a twist, a slash. Blood sprayed across the rocks. Then silence. Kane stood alone. The last enemy was down. He turned toward the sky, toward the floating cameras, and raised one shaking hand. From the top deck, Zarlek stood frozen. This is a trick. This is some kind of Earth illusion. No illusion, Dr. Rowe replied calmly over the speaker. You see weakness when you look at us. But what you don't understand is humans don't fear pain. We've lived with it. We've been broken, burned, drowned, crushed, betrayed, forgotten. She stepped forward. And every time we got back up. The transmission cut to black. The council room filled with silence. In the arena, Kane looked up at the stars, his body broken again, but slowly healing. Around him, the battlefield smelled of ash and blood. But deep inside, something new was waking in his DNA. Something ancient, powerful, and hungry. He whispered only one word to himself. Round 2. The stars watched in silence as the galaxy changed forever. The war games were never meant to be real war. They were a game, a show, something to keep the strong species entertained and the weak ones in their place. Every cycle, the strongest. Warriors from across galaxies came to prove dominance. Some fought with brute strength. Others used weapons or speed. But never in all the centuries of the war games had anyone seen a species evolve during battle. Until now, the humans had entered the arena as prey, soft-skinned, unarmored, full of fear. Now they were something else. Inside the command chamber of the arena, General Zaralek paced like a caged beast. His soldiers stood frozen, watching the human footage replay on the screens. Private Kane's body rebuilding itself. A woman growing back her leg. Another human jumping into fire to explode himself, only to crawl out of the smoke minutes later. Covered in ash and smiling. They're not soldiers, Zaralek growled. They're monsters. But they weren't monsters. Not at first. They were tactical. Back on the battlefield, the remaining human team didn't wait for new orders. They spread out like shadows, moving between wreckage and broken metal walls. Their movements were no longer like regular soldiers. They adapted with each step, ducking, dodging, predicting enemy strikes before they came. One human, Lieutenant Suri, crouched behind a broken tower and whispered into her "Come. They don't know we're alive. Good, let's use that." Her voice was calm, sharp, and clear. Blood ran down her face, but she ignored it. She tapped the side of her helmet, scanning for movement. Red dots appeared. Enemy patrol. 3 Dravik warriors were moving in formation. Heavy footsteps. Confident, she looked at her squad. We take them, fast, no mistakes. They moved like wind. Suri slid under a metal pipe and came up behind the first alien. Her blade found the gap in its armor. One clean cut. No sound. The second turned, but a human named Drew was already there, firing a shot into its eye. The third panicked, raised his plasma gun, and was tackled from above by Kane, who slammed the alien into the ground so hard the floor cracked. It was over in seconds. 3 enemies down. No casualties. Alien drones watching from above couldn't understand what they were seeing. The footage looked impossible. The same humans who screamed in terror just an hour ago were now moving like they had trained for this their entire lives. They were learning fast. Inside the alien war room, scientists ran simulations. They input data, stats, weaknesses, weapons. Nothing made sense. Human reaction times were spiking. Regeneration speed had doubled. Pain tolerance had gone off the charts. These readings are not stable, one researcher said. They single quotes read ... changing minute by minute. Send more troops, Zaralek growled. Send elite hunters, crush them now. But crushing wasn't so easy anymore. The humans didn't fight like before. They weren't charging in straight lines or firing wildly. They were thinking, testing. Every battle became a lesson. Every injury taught them something. And they shared information fast. One soldier lost an eye to a Dravik blade, but 5 minutes later, the rest of the squad knew exactly how to dodge it. What made it worse was that they weren't afraid to die. One alien team cornered a human near the collapsed tunnels. The soldier was breathing hard, injured. Blood dripped from her arm. "Surrender," the alien ordered. She smiled. "I've already won," she said, and pressed a button on her belt. The explosion took out the entire tunnel. When the smoke cleared, her body was broken, twisted, definitely dead. But 10 minutes later, her heart started beating again. Broken bones moved. Her eyes opened. She stood. The aliens monitoring the scene screamed. One fainted dot in the main council chamber. Alien leaders from various empires argued loudly. "They're violating the rules. This is unnatural. We should disqualify them." But Earth's ambassador, Dr. Alina Rowe, stood calm, hands folded. "You invited us to fight. You never said how we had to win." A tall, silver-skinned ambassador from the Keldar species banged the table. "This is not war, it's madness." Dr. Rowe tilted her head slightly. "Then perhaps you shouldn't have made war your entertainment." Back on the field, Kane and Suri reunited with the rest of their squad. Half of them were bloody. All of them were alive. Suri looked at Kane. "How many lives do you think we get?" Kane shrugged. "Don't know. But I plan to use every single one of them." That night, while alien fleets debated in panic, Earth's command ship sent a private signal to its ground team. 2 words: Phase 2. Kane read the message and nodded. He pulled a small metal vial from his belt. Inside it, tiny silver specks floated, nanites. Advanced ones. Newer than before, faster, smarter. Without a word, he injected it into his arm. The pain was immediate. His back arched. His eyes rolled. His skin shifted colors. Muscles tensed and expanded. His breathing slowed, then stopped, then restarted again. Suri stepped back, watching. "Are you okay?" Kane opened his eyes. They glowed. "I am now." Across the galaxy, alien commanders started pulling their species out of the war games. Others demanded Earth be banned. But it didn't matter, because Earth wasn't playing the game anymore. They were changing it. And no one, no matter how advanced, how armored, how old, was ready for what was coming next. A quiet dread had settled over the stars. What started as amusement became confusion. Confusion turned into fear. Now fear was evolving into panic. And at the center of it all stood one species: humans. The aliens once called them fragile, meatbags, cry creatures, soft flesh walkers, all funny names once. Now those same species were sending urgent signals to their homeworlds. Prepare. Defenses. Earth may be more than we thought. But no one really knew the truth yet. They didn't know about the Earth Protocol. Somewhere far from the arena, orbiting above a gas giant cloaked in thunder, Earth's command vessel floated like a silent predator. It had no weapons visible. No blinking lights. It looked like a graveyard of steel. But inside its dark walls, minds sharper than any laser were watching everything. In the core chamber, deep inside, Commander Helena Morrow stared at the battlefield feed. Her eyes were cold, tired, and focused. She had seen 3 of her soldiers die, then come back, then kill, then die again on purpose. No hesitation, no fear, no complaints. She leaned forward and spoke into the command mic. "Execute Earth Protocol." On every human soldier's HUD, a soft chime echoed. "Earth Protocol initiated. Phase 2, adaptive response unlocked." Back in the arena, Private Kane's body responded first. The nanites inside him shifted. His spine tingled. His blood thickened. muscles coiled tighter like metal ropes. His skin grew darker, not like bruising, but as if absorbing light, making him harder to see. Other soldiers began to change too. Eyes turned gold. Reflexes snapped like electricity. One soldier rolled across the ground to dodge a beam and didn't stop rolling. His bones flexed like rubber, absorbing the force. Another held her breath for 3 whole minutes while infiltrating an enemy nest, and her lungs didn't even ache. Alien tech teams watching the feed were no longer just shocked, they were terrified. "They're mutating," one technician stammered. "Right in the middle of combat." "No," another corrected. "They're adapting. That's not random. That's intelligent evolution." In the alien war rooms, commanders tried to reorganize their troops. The order was simple: overwhelm them before they evolve again. But it didn't work. The more humans were attacked, the more they learned. Not just individually, collectively. One soldier gained heat vision after being burned. Within minutes, others began adjusting their helmets to match the new thermal patterns. The human squad was no longer a team of people. They were a network of minds. Each death, each mistake, each success downloaded and distributed like updates in a computer. Commander Zaralek watched in horror as his elite squads were taken down in under 2 minutes. "This isn't war," he muttered. "This is data warfare, using flesh." And it wasn't just the soldiers on the ground. Back on Earth, hidden underground beneath what used to be the Himalayas, the facility known as Deep Vault Zero began its own awakening. It was the birthplace of the Earth Protocol, not a lab, not a base, a forge. Here, decades ago, Earth's leaders had accepted a truth the rest of the galaxy still denied. If we want peace, we must be ready to be the worst nightmare in the room. The Great Collapse, the viral plague that almost wiped out humanity. Earth realized survival was no longer about stronger weapons. It was about outlasting everything. Viruses, bombs, betrayal, even death. That's when they created Project Echo. And when Echo succeeded, they created Protocol. Phase 1 was regeneration. Phase 2 was adaptation. And now, Phase 3 waited. Beneath layers of digital locks, hidden even from most of Earth's own military, only Commander Morrow held the code, and she wasn't ready to use it. Not yet. On the battlefield, Kane's voice came through the comms, deeper than before. "They're pulling back," he said. "Groups splitting. Defensive lines forming." "They're scared," Suri replied, crouched beside a dead Dravik, her hands soaked in alien blood. "They should be," whispered Drew, fixing a cracked piece of armor that had started to grow into his skin like vines. High above, an alien drone zoomed in on Suri. Her arm was glowing red. Not burn charged. Energy flowed through her veins like lightning. Alien scientists stared at the screen. "That's not natural. That's weaponization of biology." "She's turning into a generator," someone whispered. "No," the lead engineer said slowly. "She is the weapon." Suddenly, across the arena, human soldiers began speaking in unison. "Phase 2 complete," they whispered. "Next wave ready." Their voices echoed not just through their comms, but across open radio channels, hijacking alien frequencies. It wasn't just a taunt. It was a warning. Council meetings turned chaotic. Alien empires began pulling ambassadors back. Reports flooded in from outposts near Earth. Human ships patrolling space lanes. Strange signals detected. Unknown materials being mined on the Moon and Mars. One alien diplomat slammed his fist on the table. "We have to stop them before Phase 3 begins." Zaralek gritted his teeth. "You fools. It may have already started." And in a cold, quiet lab in Deep Vault Zero, something moved, behind thick glass, in a room no one had entered. In years, a heartbeat pulsed in the dark. Slow, steady. A figure floated inside a pod taller than any human, glowing faintly. A hybrid of flesh and steel, memory and instinct, pain and evolution. Earth's firstborn generation of protocol. Phase 3. It opened its eyes. Asterisk, the stars had stopped watching. Now they were listening. Listening to the strange signals coming from Earth, to the silence of once proud alien fleets, to the cries of the wounded who whispered stories of fragile creatures that refused to die. Across the galaxy, entire species debated one thing: what are humans? On the surface they looked like prey. Their skin tore easily. Their bodies bled. They screamed when burned and limped when shot. And yet, they never stayed down. Their pain became power. Their deaths became warnings. Every time a human fell, another rose smarter, stronger, deadlier. And now, they had been captured, deep within the prison chambers of the Zeroth fortress, orbiting a dead star. A single human soldier was locked in chains. Not just any chains: gravity binds, psionic barriers, neural dampeners, built to hold black hole. Smugglers and psychic warlords. The prisoner's name was Elias Ward. He had no armor now, no weapons. His shirt was torn. His hands were burned. He sat on a cold metal floor, eyes closed, lips moving slowly, whispering to himself. Alien guards watched him through a thick force field. Even though he wasn't moving, they were afraid. He'd been unconscious when captured, but after 3 hours of scans, nothing made sense. His vitals showed zero fear. His pain sensors were flatlined. His brain was wrong. It had grown. Literally. One of the guards, a long-necked technician named Rill, stared at the data. He's evolving, even here. No sunlight, no food, no signals. And he's still adapting. Another guard shook his head. That's impossible. Evolution takes generations. Not for them, Rill whispered. Inside the chamber, Elias opened. His eyes, they weren't brown anymore. They shimmered silver blue. He looked at the walls around him and smiled. He had been planning his escape since he first woke up. Not with violence, with learning. Every second in that prison, he was watching, listening, measuring vibrations in the walls, counting footsteps, testing how long it took the guards to respond to noise, calculating oxygen flow, temperature shifts, energy surges. It wasn't just survival. It was programming. On the other side of the galaxy, Earth's command center received the update. Ward, captured Zeroth fortress. Vital signs, stable. Neural response, active stage 2. Commander Morrow stared at the report, then turned to her officers. They made a mistake. They captured one of ours, her second-in-command replied. No, she said coldly. They gave him a classroom. Back in the prison, Elias stood. The guards pointed their weapons. Don't move. He didn't stop. He walked to the edge of the field. One hand reached out. He touched the force field. It should have burned his flesh. But instead, the light bent around his fingers like ripples in water. He stared into the camera. I know the frequency now. The force field collapsed. Alarms screamed. Elias moved. One step. One breath. One blur of motion and 3 guards dropped without a sound. His body moved like a ghost made of muscle and memory. He used nothing but the chains that had once bound him. They were now tools. Within 3 minutes, the fortress was in chaos. Hallways flashed red. Doors slammed. Lights flickered. The power core itself began to heat. Elias walked calmly through the fire and smoke. Bleeding, bruised but smiling, he had studied every guard, every hallway, every lock. Not to escape. To send a message. He reached the communication tower and opened a private frequency to the Galactic Council. The screen blinked on. Dozens of alien leaders appeared. Some shouted. Some demanded he be silenced. Others stared. In silence, Elias stared back. Stop trying to understand us through your logic. We're not like you. He paused, blood dripping from his chin. You see pain as weakness. We use it to upgrade. You see death as the end. For us, it's feedback. Every failure writes new code in our bodies. Every wound makes us faster. Every death brings a new version. He looked into the lens. You want to win? You'll have to kill every last one of us at the same time, and even then, I wouldn't be so sure. Then he ended the transmission and vanished into the shadows of space. Back at the Galactic Council, silence ruled the chamber. No one laughed now. No one mocked. The footage of Elias Ward's escape spread across star systems like wildfire. In some places, it was blocked. In others, it played on loop. Children of alien races asked their parents, "Can humans really come back to life?" Fleet commanders began ordering retreats from sectors near Earth. Merchants stopped trading in human space. Even bounty hunters stopped taking contracts for them. Earth wasn't feared because of its weapons. Earth was feared because it refused to stay dead. But some refused to believe the fear. One alien empire, the Vorak Coalition, chose war. They saw Earth's evolution not as power but as corruption. They believed humans were unnatural, dangerous, and had to be erased. They gathered 10,000 ships, the largest fleet since the Black Hole War. They launched toward Earth. Confident, proud, prepared. But they didn't know what waited for them. In low orbit above Earth, at the edge of Mars, something began to stir. It had no name, no heat signature, not even a visible form, until it opened its eyes. The Phase 3 prototype, not just a soldier, not even a human anymore. Something born of humanity, shaped by pain, sharpened by extinction, and armored in evolution. The creature stepped onto a launch pad and looked up at the stars. Its body shifted, metal, bone, light. Its voice, soft but clear. Target acquired. Then it launched. No engine, no fire. Just pure motion. And when the Vorak fleet arrived, they saw a single figure floating before them. Unarmed. UNSHIELD. They laughed until it tore through their first ship in less than a second. Then the laughter stopped. Forever. Asterisk. The stars were burning again, not from suns, not from comets, but from warships, thousands of them falling like broken toys across the edge of known space. Twisted metal and glowing plasma floated where proud fleets once flew. Silent wreckage drifted through the void. Black boxes screamed one final message on loop. We fought Earth. We didn't survive. The Vorak Coalition was no more. 10,000 ships had entered human space. Only ash and fear returned. And yet, Earth never fired a single shot. It hadn't needed to. It had released something else. They called it the prototype. But that name no longer fit. It was no longer just a test subject. No longer an experiment. It was Earth's final weapon. No code name. No serial number. Just a presence cold, patient, unshakable. The creature stood at the edge of the battlefield, floating in space with no ship, no armor, no air. Its body shimmered between solid and energy. Its bones were woven with data. Its skin absorbed every wavelength of light, making it near invisible to sensors. And inside it burned one simple directive: never let them threaten humanity again. The Galactic Council called an emergency summit. Every surviving empire sent representatives. Some arrived in disguise. Others sent drones instead of diplomats, afraid even to speak the human name out loud. The fear was thick in the room. Number 1 sat comfortably. Zaralek, now missing an eye from a battlefield escape, leaned on his staff and spoke first. This must end. If we don't act together, Earth will become an empire none of us can stop. An empire? Hissed the Keldari ambassador, clicking her sharp teeth. They already are one. They just haven't claimed it yet. Then we strike now, someone else shouted. All of us. At once. Finish them before it's too late. But no one moved, because they all knew the same truth. Every fleet that touched Earth came home in flames or not at all. And then, in the middle of the council room, a new signal appeared. It wasn't broadcast. It simply was. A shimmering figure stepped forward from thin air. As if reality had blinked. The prototype. No guards. No weapons. Just standing there. Watching. Alien guards raised blasters, shields, claws. The prototype raised one hand. Everything stopped. Literally. Weapons froze mid-air. Light beams hung like paint across the sky. Voices died in throats. Time stuttered. Then the voice came. It wasn't loud. It wasn't threatening. But it cut through everything like ice through glass. You called this the war games, it said. But war is not a game to us. Its eyes, if they were eyes, glowed like distant stars. You laughed when we bled. You clapped when we died. You counted our bones like trophies. And now you fear us because we learned. No one could answer. Their mouths wouldn't move. The prototype turned, slowly. You feared our strength. But you never understood our will. And with that, it vanished. Time resumed. Weapons clattered to the floor. A few aliens collapsed, gasping. The council chamber was silent. Then came the second signal from Earth itself. A voice. Calm, female. Human. Dr. Alina Rowe. We don't seek conquest, she said. We seek peace. But if you push us, if you challenge our right to survive, we will not hesitate. We've already died 1,000 times. What's one more, if it means we get back up stronger? She paused. And if you still want war, come try. Then the transmission ended. No music. No anthem. Just a heartbeat. But not all aliens listened. Some couldn't accept it. One small but proud empire, the Psychran Dominion, decided to ignore the warnings. They launched a stealth strike directly at Earth's orbit. A single mission. High risk. One goal. Cut the head off the monster. They believed the prototype was the source of the power. They believed wrong. Because Earth wasn't relying on one super-soldier. It was a planet full of them. The strike team landed near a mountain range, in what was once called the Rockies. They moved fast, no sound, no trails. Their cloaks bent light. Their weapons vibrated fast, enough to slice stone. But they weren't invisible to the humans. Not anymore. By the time they reached the outer perimeter, they heard it. Footsteps. But not normal ones. Heavy, calm, unrushed. One soldier peeked around. A rock. Then screamed. The last thing he saw was a child, a human child, glowing faintly blue. Eyes blank, floating a few inches above the snow. She raised one finger, and the mountain collapsed. Not exploded. Not broke. Collapsed. Turned to dust. The Psy-Cran team never made it back. Their ship was never found. Only one message was retrieved. From their final log. They are not a species anymore. They are an evolution engine, and they have no off switch. Back in Deep Vault Zero, Commander Morrow walked through the chamber where the original Echo Soldiers were once created. But the pods were empty now. They were all out there across colonies, stations, battlefields, moons, some fighting, some healing, some just watching. Waiting. Humanity had become a system. Each loss became code. Each death became fuel. Each soldier became a generation. Morrow looked at the stars. So many still untouched. So many still watching. She spoke into the darkness. We don't want their worlds, she said. We want our future. Then paused. And if we must break the stars to have it, we will. On the outer edge of the Milky Way, the prototype floated alone in silence, watching the black between galaxies. No expression, no movement, but one thought repeated in its core. The galaxy ended when it laughed. And the new age began when we rose. The stars no longer blinked. They stared. As if the entire galaxy had become aware of itself. Aware of a truth it had denied for too long. Humans were not weak. Not soft, not temporary. They were inevitable. Across the spiral arms of the Milky Way, silence had replaced laughter. Once, humanity was the punchline of the universe. Now their name was spoken only in whispers, if spoken at all, because everyone understood something that hadn't been true. A century ago, Earth was no longer part of the galaxy. It was becoming its center that the Galactic Council did not fall. It bent. Slowly, reluctantly, painfully, but it bent. Dozens of once proud empires that had waged war for centuries now sent ambassadors to Earth, not with demands or ultimatums, but with gifts, apologies, treaties carved in fear. They offered weapons, territories, rare minerals. Some even offered their own soldiers to learn under the humans. They didn't call it surrender. They called it cooperation, but everyone knew what it really was. The only empire that hadn't fired a single shot had won the war. Inside the rebuilt United Earth Command Tower, no longer hidden, now orbiting Earth like a crown, Dr. Alina Rowe sat in the high chamber, staring at a hologram of the galaxy. Planets blinked softly in green, yellow, or red. Her aides stood behind her, waiting for instructions. Status? She asked. 23 new systems have requested membership, one replied. 4 more are observing. The others remain silent or lost. Rowe nodded. And the prototype? The room quieted. Then an answer came. He hasn't spoken, but he's watching, always. They all understood what that meant. The prototype had become more than a being. He was now a myth, a symbol, a silent judge in orbit. No army, no throne, but more feared than any king. Rowe stood and looked out through the crystal glass wall. Earth shimmered below, bright and clean, no longer broken by war or poverty. The same planet that once struggled to survive was now guiding the stars, not through power, but through adaptation. Far below, on the surface, young children learned about the before times in school, about the plagues, the wars, the near extinction. They memorized names of soldiers who had died and come back. They studied the virus era not with fear, but with pride, because that pain had shaped them. They were no longer raised to avoid pain. They were raised to learn from it. Every scrape, every fall, every loss was seen as a lesson, a small echo of the great sacrifice their ancestors made. Some called this cruel, others called it preparation. And the children? They smiled. They were ready. On a distant world once ruled by the elite Krinsari species, a human diplomatic team arrived. Not soldiers, not weapons. Just 5 envoys dressed in plain uniforms. The Krinsari king trembled as he welcomed them. Will you take our world? One human, a tall man named Jared, smiled softly. No, he said. But we'll show you how not to lose it again. And just like that, the Krinsari became students. The humans didn't conquer planets. They rewired. Then no guns were pointed. No flags were raised. And yet, one by one, the stars turned human. Not by force, by fear of being left behind. Some species resisted. A few still believed the humans were monsters, that Earth's rise was unnatural, that their evolution was dangerous. They tried sabotage, infiltration, lies. It didn't matter. Every plan failed before it began, because humans had something no other species had mastered: memory across death. Each time a human was hurt, their body remembered. Every time they died, the knowledge was stored, updated, and reborn in another. Pain wasn't just fuel. It was code. There were no secrets from humans anymore. Only delays. Even the stars themselves were no longer free. In a region near the galactic core, a neutron star blinked in patterns that resembled human code. Scientists from multiple species rushed to understand it. They believed it to be a mystery of the universe. But Earth's astronomers smiled. Quietly. It was not a mystery. It was a message. We are coming. Not as destroyers. As builders. And then finally, on the anniversary of the first war games, event that began everything, Earth sent a universal transmission. No threats. No speeches. No images of power. Just a simple recording. A boy and a girl, maybe 12 years old, sitting by a campfire on Earth. The boy poked the fire with a stick. The girl stared at the stars. The boy asked, "Do you think they're still scared of us?" The girl thought for a moment. Probably, she said. Then she looked straight at the camera. But they should understand by now. We never wanted to be their enemy, the boy nodded. We just didn't want to be their joke. And then the screen went black. That was it. No anthem. No flag. Just a reminder that the joke had ended long ago. Above them all, the prototype stood alone on an orbital platform. Watching. Waiting. It had stopped evolving. Now, because it had no more need to change. It was perfect for its purpose. A guardian, a memory, a silent monument to a species that once bled, once burned, once begged for peace, and learned how to rise from its own ashes. It turned slowly and whispered. To no one and everyone. They laughed when they saw us bleed. They feared when they saw us heal. But when they saw us evolve, they knelt,